Hey guys, welcome to the Prime to Lead release show. My name is Chad Grigsby. I'll be your host this evening, and I cannot tell you how excited I am to share with you this resource from my buddy, friend Chris Warzowski. It's a brand new book called Prime to Lead. But before Chris comes on, just want to let you guys know we are going to be giving away some prizes tonight. So do us a favor and share this live broadcast. And if you do, you will be entered into our prize pool to win a prize. We're going to give away some prizes. Love for you to take away one of those. The more you participate tonight, the more you have a chance to win. But I want to introduce you to the book before Chris comes out. And so watch this trailer with me.
Where is the next generation of leaders? You'll find us in the church, in the marketplace, and in our communities. For us to embrace the challenge of leading toward the future, we need a secure anchor for the climb and a clear vision for what our legacy could be. As we stand on the shoulders of the leaders who have come before us, let us have eyes that are open and ears that are ready to hear. And may we each look to the ultimate servant leader so that we can move toward the future together. It's time for an honest conversation. It's time to be primed to lead.
All right, there it is. Prime to Lead officially released today, and we could not be more excited for this great new book. So I'd like for you to welcome the author with me, Chris Warzowski. Buddy, congratulations. How are you feeling today?
Thanks, Chad. Man, feeling great. Super thankful, relieved, just super excited. I don't know if you've seen the movie Elf with Will Ferrell, but there's a scene where he makes it to New York City and he finds the rotating doors and he's just running around excited and screaming. That's kind of how I feel today. I'm really thankful and really blessed and excited to share more about the book too.
Yeah, well, I know this has been a labor of love for you. You've been working hard on this book, a lot of early mornings, a lot of late nights, a lot of effort, labor of love. And so I'm excited for you, excited about the resource, excited for people to get their hands on it. One of my favorite stories that you actually tell at the very beginning, the lawnmower story about you getting to mow the lawn. Why don't you tell us that story? Tell us a little bit about how it was the inspiration for the book.
Yeah. So in life, we always have these rites of passage, whether it be in leadership and whatever organization we're part of, and being given responsibilities, and we begin to experience these rites of passage even in childhood. And so for me, growing up, a big rite of passage for me was being able to finally mow the lawn all by myself, right? So like you grow up and always watch my dad mow the lawn, right? And
what's funny about that is now you can't wait to not mow the lawn, right?
That's right.
You look forward to it for all these years, and then you're stuck with it. So.
That's it, man. And so finally one day I was a young man and my dad came to me. He said, "Okay, Chris, it's your time. Go ahead. I'm gonna let you mow the lawn today." And I was ecstatic. So I went outside, went into the garage and kind of the dirty, dusty, cold, wet corner of the garage and swiveled out our lawnmower and brought it out onto the driveway and filled up the gas, checked the oil, all that stuff. And then just was so excited. And I just pulled on the starter cord as hard as I could, and nothing, not a sound, a faint rotation of the engine, if you will. And so I was kind of frustrated, but I knew it might take a couple pulls. So I pulled a couple more times and still nothing. Well, at this point I was I was frustrated, but I was still zealous to be able to mow the lawn all by myself. So I just kept pulling that cord every which way, trying to pull that lawnmower. And I probably did that for 20 minutes in the warm June heat in Northeast Ohio. And so finally, my dad saw me kind of out of the corner of his eye, and he came over to me. He goes, Chris, did you prime the engine? And I looked at him like, what does that mean? And he stooped down to the engine. He found this little red button, right? And he pressed it about 9 or 10 times. He just said, here you go. And I said, okay, I'll try to start one more time. And so I took that starter cord and I pulled that thing back so hard, and wouldn't you know it, a billowing cloud of dark, smelly smoke and the loud roar of that old lawnmower shaking in my hands, and I was off to finally mow the lawn. And really, that story just illustrates what I think what a lot of leaders experience, and this is what I've experienced too in leadership, is, whether you're new to leadership, you're stepping into a new role, or you're in a season where maybe you feel like you need fresh energy, you need fresh encouragement. We've all been in those places where we want to take the hill, we want to mow the lawn, we want to take the next step, but a lot of times we end up missing or forgetting foundational habits, foundational truths, foundational principles. They're going to help us move ahead and move forward and help bring others to come with us to go and do the things that we're passionate about. And that's why I wrote this book, to help people do that.
Yeah, I really love that idea because, as a leader, you can have all the character, all the competencies, all the skills in the world, but if you're not primed and ready to lead, it's really hard to get going. One of the things I love about the book that you say about it here on the back is it equips you to be a better leader sooner. And I really love that idea that I think sometimes you think in leadership, you've got to wait a long time. You've got to pay your dues, but this book really, I think, helps new leaders become better leaders quicker, which I really love that. One of the things I really love about the book too, it's really easy to read. It's really fun to read. It's super practical. And do us a favor, if you love enjoyable, easy reading, good books, share this live stream that we're doing, and put the hashtag in whatever your social media platform you're on, #Prime to Lead. And remember, the more engaged you are, the better chance you have to win. Chris, one of the great things about the book is the short chapters and how, you can sit down and read them very quickly. I call it really good toilet reading.
That is a great compliment. A great compliment.
you can really read through the chapters quickly and in a small amount of time. So tell us a little bit about one of your readers who read it, said that they read it. They couldn't put it down. They read it in like a few days. So tell us about how that makes you feel to hear something like that.
Oh man, that's so encouraging. And I really did want to write it in a way to where this may seem like a duh statement, right? But I really did want to write it in a way that was enjoyable and engaging and encouraging for folks. I wanted people, when they read this book, to feel like we were sitting down in a coffee shop having a conversation together. And I was sharing about my experience, and I was sharing about conversations I've had with leaders. I wanted to make it personal because a lot of the book is personal. I take the time and I'm very intentional to share some of my story and things that the Lord has taught me, and how He's brought experienced leaders into my life to help me. And I kind of, I'm one of those people, sometimes I struggle with transparency, but I really did want to be transparent in some of my struggles as a leader and some of the painful events in my leadership, because I don't think we need another book or another person writing about leadership who gives such a grandiose idea that it seems like it's unattainable. That's just not the reality. The reality is that we're continuing to learn, we're continuing to grow, we're continuing to develop, and we need to be transparent in that. And the book is all about growing and realizing we got to keep growing and keep taking steps. We need people to help us do that.
Yeah, that's great, man. There's been some really high praise for the book. I want to read a couple of things that people have commented about it. David Fletcher, who's the founder of X-Pastor, which is one of the leading sites for resourcing ministry leaders, he called your book practical and readable. which is really good for a leadership book to be practical and readable. It's good for a book to be readable. And then Sherry Surratt, the executive director of leadership strategy for Orange, she actually said not only that you need to make this book part of your foundational leadership library, but she also said that it has valuable wisdom and practical learning. So when you hear people describe your book in that way and give you a compliment like that about your work, how does that make you feel? What do you think about stuff like that?
I mean, it really is humbling, right? And it's encouraging, but frankly, it makes me thankful for the different people who helped make this book kind of come to be. As part of my process of approaching what are the foundational things you need to know to take next steps in your leadership, wherever you are, whether you're new to it or you're ready to take a next step in it. I reached out to a lot of different Christian leaders in different contexts, effective, experienced leaders. So I talked with lead pastors in different parts of the country. I talked with executive pastors. I talked with other ministry leaders, different ministry staff. And I talked with Christian business leaders as well. I talked to corporate executives in baking and in sales, banking, not baking, banking. I should have interviewed a baker.
That may have helped. Yeah.
The next book, banking, sales, marketing, executives for nonprofit organizations as well. And I even talk with educators as well, because there's so many great leaders in education right now, both locally and on the university level as well. And so, and that's just some of the leaders I talk to. And so in having these interviews with them and having conversations with them, what you see throughout the book is you hear stories from them, from lessons they've learned, and great principles that they freely offered up for this book, because they believed in really the goal and the mission of this book. And that's just to help equip people to be better leaders for the sake of honoring the Lord and helping to extend his kingdom, whatever leadership context you're in, whether it's in the ministry and church ministry, or if it's in the marketplace as well.
Yeah, I really appreciated the breadth of people that you brought in to kind of give input into the book and that you interviewed. But tell us a little bit about the specific questions that you asked them when you were trying to pull that information, leadership gold nuggets, if you will, out of them.
Yeah, so I asked a lot of questions, but some of the primary ones that I made sure to ask every leader that I interviewed. The first one was this: I asked about young leaders, new leaders, maybe young professionals, people that are stepping into leadership for the first time. And I asked these leaders, what are some of the foundational key things that you're seeing effective new leaders do? Like, what are those habits that they have when they step onto a team, when they step into a ministry or onto a church staff team or step onto an organization? What are the best young or new leaders doing well? And out of a lot of their answers to that question came really the first third of the book. Like, do these things well if you want to be a better leader sooner.
That's great. Yeah, I really think you do a great job of, I think there's this tension sometimes between new and experienced leaders. There's this gap, this elephant in the room, if you will. And you do a really good job talking about that gap and that tension and how you navigate that. In fact, the subtitle of your book, which I think is the 86th version of the subtitle, you thought about many subtitles. I remember we had a few conversations about the various different subtitles, and I'm personally offended you didn't go with my favorite subtitle, but you know what, you landed on a pretty good one. But it's an honest conversation for new and experienced leaders. Why did you end up landing on that subtitle for the book?
Yeah, well, let me apologize to you now, Chad, in front of the entire internet world. I sent you so many text messages. What do you think about this subtitle? What do you think about this subtitle?
Listen, if I ever write a book, I can pick the subtitle. I think since you wrote it, you get to pick it. I can see that, Timo.
That sounds good. Yeah, so I actually didn't come up with that subtitle. It was one of the great leaders that I interviewed, and she's written some books too, and she came up with that subtitle, and I loved it as soon as she recommended it. And because it really does speak to the heart of the book, it's an honest conversation for new and experienced leaders. Organizations, ministries, we need both. Right? We need new leaders who are passionate, who are zealous, who want to take next steps, who want to take the mountain, right? And we need experienced leaders who have their wisdom, who have had a game for a while and who have learned a lot of lessons. And I think what happens in churches and companies and organizations is they feel that tension, right? But if we can be intentional to move towards each other and have honest conversations and not just live in the world where we're content with the elephant being in the room, but if we're willing to kind of push that big old elephant out of the way and get a little close to each other and have honest conversations, I think what's going to happen is I think those experienced leaders are going to help provide wisdom for those new leaders. And it's important for those new leaders to be teachable, right? And I talk about that you need to be teachable, that you need to be coachable. But also, I think new leaders are going to bring fresh perspective. They're going to bring fresh ideas. And so if they can, but they got to be able to communicate those and articulate those and share those in a way that makes sense within their organization, within the culture of their organization or their ministry. And if we can be intentional to do that, man, we're going to go way further together than we could on our own. So, yeah.
Yeah. And you provide tools and structures for new and experienced leaders to do just that. I really appreciate, I had a moment the other day. In fact, I think we were in the same place where I was sitting at a table with 5 other guys on our team, on our staff team, and I was the oldest guy at the table. And what's funny is I moved from Arkansas, and almost every table I sat at, I was the youngest guy at the table. And what I thought is that transition happens, I think, a little bit faster than we think it will. And so I love that you've written a resource, not just for new leaders coming in, but for kind of experienced leaders to say, okay, I'm the oldest person at the table, and now I've got something to give to that next generation of leader. And so I love that you have written some structures and tools into the book to help experienced leaders bring younger leaders actually through the material.
Yeah, the term that I use in the book is coaches, because I love that term, because I think that's really what it is. And so what I did just in chapter 2 is I talked about and I mentioned this before, the coachability of the new leader. But also I didn't want to just say to the new leader and to the experienced leader, well, you guys need to have honest conversations and you need to meet and there needs to be coaching. I provide structure for that. I talk about this is what a coaching relationship looks like. This is how you define what you talk about, how you're going to talk about it together, the length and of time and how often you're going to meet. You need to define all those things because structure is so important for that. And then within that structure, you can have that honest conversation, really be yourselves in that. And with each chapter of this book, and one of my hopes for this book is that ministries and organizations or Christian leaders, Christian business leaders who are in small groups with younger Christian business leaders, I hear from people all the time. They want to mentor, they want to coach, they want to invest. They're just not sure how to do it, where to start, and what material to use. And so I try to provide that all in the book. And so each chapter, at the end of each chapter, there's what I like to call a coaching moment. And so there is an opportunity for the new leader to share, and there's opportunity for the experienced leader to share and to have that honest conversation together.
Yeah. So really this book is for any kind of leader, whether you're an aspiring leader, you're a brand new leader, you're new to a new role, or even just new to leadership in general, or you're an experienced leader who's looking for fresh encouragement and equipping. It's got a lot of different applications. So if you're listening and you're with us on the show here, tag somebody on your social media platform who you think could use this book and would benefit from it. Chris, would you like to answer some questions? We've got a couple of questions.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, let's do a couple of those. Somebody asked, Leah asked, what interview did you do for this book that was very personally influential for you?
Oh, that's a great question, Leah. Oh, there was a few. I would say that there is somebody I interviewed who has been an executive pastor for years and years at a really well-known, growing multi-site church in the Midwest. And that leader had such great understanding and wisdom as it came to culture and culture within a ministry, culture within an organization, and what culture is, how you define culture, how you try to cultivate culture, and the responsibility that everybody in an organization has to help cultivate that, and how the leader sets the tone for that. And really that a leader is a culture creator. And so I have 2 different chapters that talk about culture in the book. One of which talks about how do you investigate the culture of the team or the ministry or the organization you're joining. And then later in the book, I've got another chapter on how to be a culture creator in that organization. How do you help establish and lead the culture that you want to see realized in that organization? So that's a great question, Leah. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a great question. Emily asks, she's wondering, what are some of the chapter titles, or maybe is it set up in sections? So she's asking a little bit more about the structure of the book.
Yeah, really good. Another really good question. So there are 3 sections of the book, Emily. The first one is called Starting Well, and it's really it's about covering those first foundational questions of, man, what are the best new leaders doing, or what are the best influential leaders doing right now? The second part of the book is all about cultivating influence. So it's really about meeting people where they're at. And then the third is creating movement. And that's really about how you set a target and how you lead a team, a group, a small group, an organization towards where you feel like you need to head, and how you do that practically. And then within those, there's about 6 chapters each, and they're kind of short, they were meant to be short, catchy chapters. So the book on being coachable is simply called Coachable. Very creative, I know.
Very creative.
I have a chapter on character and the importance of character in a leader. And so the name of that chapter is called Who Am I? And I have a chapter on what it looks like to cultivate relational equity in building relationships with people on your team and in your organization and in your church. And that chapter is called Take It to the Bank. And then I've got another chapter about how do you set the right goals? How do you set the right targets, the right direction you want to go? How do you do that? And how do you do that within the umbrella of your organization, your ministry? And that's called Know Your Target. So hopefully that answers your great question, Emily. Thank you.
Yeah, really good question. There's a couple more if you want to, Chris.
Yeah, please. These are great.
It's really good. Leah had another great question. She, you mentioned the tools and structures, kind of the coaching in the book. That's one of the tools that you mentioned, or that we mentioned. But she was asking maybe what are some other tools and structures that you give in the book. Wanted to hear a little bit more detail about those.
Yeah, so I don't want to give away the book. I don't want to give away the book. I will say this. I will say I talk about the type of person that you find to coach you and how important that is. So finding the right person, and then and then clarity. So clarity for the kind of person that you want to be investing in you. And really, I think as you read that, you'll realize too, if you want to coach or if you want to mentor, clarity for the type of person that you want to coach or mentor. So clarity for that. And then I would also say just clarity in defining the times you're going to meet, defining what you're going to talk about, and being intentional to, one, do that. And then secondly, so where as you go through that process, if you don't feel like you're hitting the target of what that coaching relationship looks like, readjusting. And I give some of those things in there on how to do that. So hopefully that answers your question. I want to give you a little bit, but I don't want to give away an entire chapter of the book.
No, that's great, man. John asked, what chapter of the book hits home most for you and why?
So I would say the chapter on Who Am I? The one on just character and how God transforms our character, because not that I have arrived at some place as far as character development, but there have been seasons where God was shaping me and refining me and molding me and using experienced leaders in my life and using his spirit in my life. And the reason that chapter stands out to me so much is because it's probably the most transparent I've ever been about a season of my life where God was doing that. But it's so important for me to share that with people because one, it reminds me of just how good and gracious God has been in my moments of frankly failure and missing it, and opportunity for growth. But I hope it encourages others that God is continually working in us and working in our hearts. And that's the most important thing that needs to be happening for any leader, is that God is working in us, just as he's working through us.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, I heard somebody say your competency can only take you as far as your character can go, right? So that's really good, man. So Chris, the book's available on Amazon today. People can go on there and order that. You did a little bit of research today on Amazon and found out that the book is actually kind of breaking into some pretty cool lists, right?
Yeah. So believe it or not, so the book came out today. So we're one day in. The book has already broken the top 100 for Christian leadership books on Amazon. And
Awesome.
if you've spent any time on Amazon, there are a lot of Christian leadership books. So it is it's an honor and it's super encouraging. So top 100 for Christian leadership books. And then we're about to break the top 60 for books for Christian organizations and institutions, which is really cool. So, man, I just want to take a moment to say thanks to all of you. So many of you have pre-ordered the book. So many of you have said that you're going to pick up a copy at one of our release parties. Thanks for sharing about the book. Thanks to all of you who are reading it, and thanks for going on and sharing an honest review of the book on Amazon. All that stuff just helps. And man, my prayer is that God just uses us in whatever way he wants to, just to use his people for his glory, wherever he has them and whatever spheres of influence he has you.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited about that, man. It's a great first day. But if people are not going to just buy on Amazon, which they're encouraged to do, there's a couple of live events in Ohio where they can actually get a copy of your book, and maybe even like I am, don't be jealous, I got a signed copy of the book. That's what you get for hosting the release show. You get a signed copy of the book. So you can show up at one of these events. Chris, tell us a little bit about those, where they are, what day they are, and what people can expect when they come.
Yeah, I'm super excited. I feel like this is just going to be a time of celebration and hanging out and laughter and fun. And so 2 weeks from tonight, so I believe that's Wednesday, October 21st. We're going to be at Life Point Church in Lewis Center, Ohio. Chad and I are going to be there, and we're going to have a release party there. Chad and I both serve on staff at Life Point, and I'm so grateful for Dean Folks, our lead pastor. He wrote a great forward for Prime to Lead, and so we're going to be having a release party at Life Point Church in Lewis Center. Would love for you to go on the Facebook page and just RSVP. Let us know that you're going to be there so we can plan accordingly. And so we're going to have live worship. My good friend John Myers, he's watching in right now. John's going to be leading worship. And then Chad and I are going to spend more time talking about the book. We'll talk about some other parts of the book and crack some more jokes, and then we'll have a book signing. So if you haven't gotten a copy from Amazon yet, or because you're waiting, we're going to have copies of the book there, and would love to just hang out with you and sign a book for you. And it's going to be a great time. So October 21st, 7 p.m. And then a few days later, we're going to be in Northeast Ohio, where I grew up. So we're going to be in Avon, Ohio. My good friends at Avon Brewing Company in Avon, Ohio are going to be hosting a book signing. So that's Saturday, October 24th, 2 to 4 p.m. If you are in Northeast Ohio, I would love for you to come to the book signing, not only for the book, but if you have ever had food from Avon Brewing Company, you know that it is delicious. Anytime our family is able to get up to Avon, we always stop there. Chad, they have this burger. Okay. I just gotta go off to I gotta talk about this burger. They have this burger there. It's called the Volcano Burger, and it is amazing. So what they do is they take your burger, right? And they take the top off the bun, and they've got this, big, delicious patty. And then they do like a tower of onion rings on top of the burger. And then they have this like sweet, tangy barbecue sauce that they drizzle down, and it looks like a volcano on a burger. And man, it is delicious. And so my friends in Northeast Ohio, please come to the book signing for no other reason than to come have the volcano burger with me, and we'll hang out. Would love to hang out with you Saturday, October 24th, 2 to 4 p.m.
So bring your copy of Prime to Lead to get signed by Chris, and bring some Tums for the volcano burger. All right. So enjoy that. All right. Well, I can't encourage you guys enough to get a copy of Prime to Lead, either from Amazon or one of these great events that are coming up. I think we have answered all the questions tonight, Chris. So would you mind if I take a minute and just pray for you and pray that the Lord would use this book in a mighty way?
Please, man, that would mean a lot.
All right, let's pray. Father, thank you so much for Chris. I thank you for, Lord, just his ministry, for his life, and Lord, now for this book that you have placed on his heart to write. And Lord, I know his heart behind it is just to be a resource to leaders, to encourage leaders, to help new leaders and experienced leaders. And Lord, I feel like it's just a great resource in a place where people need encouragement as leaders. And so, Lord, I pray you would use this book, use it in the life of many a leader who is coming up and those that are currently in leadership. Thank you for his heart. Thank you for how you're using him. And I just pray you would bless him and this book in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thanks, Chad.
Hey, you're welcome. And thanks again for everybody for joining us. If you're interacting with us or have been interacting with us during the show, you will be contacted if you've won a prize from the prize pool. So don't forget to pick up your copy of Prime to Lead. And if you're in Ohio, we hope to see you at an in-person release event soon. Have a great night, and thanks for tuning in.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks so much. Thanks, Chad.
Thanks, Chris.
Good night.